Thanks for staying with us here on the AM show. Roland has painted the global picture in terms of how widespread this whole coronavirus COVID-19 is. Now, Ghana, as you know, has recorded 7 cases of this pandemic. Tourism is one of the worst affected areas, as government had high hopes for it beyond the return initiative in the wake of the scare. Obviously, we asked the question, how is the Ghana Tourism Authority ensuring the hospitality industry adheres to the regulations? What's been the impact of this on our local tourism? Our guest is the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Tourism Authority, Mr. Kwesi Agyemang. Good morning to you. Not a very good morning in these times.
Good morning, Mavi.
You're good?
I'm good.
Okay. I think I saw you sometime last week. You know, with the speaking to media people, but also hotels, and trying to get them to do the right thing, you know, issuing some directives. But how has it generally been for the authority in terms of tourism?
Thank you. I believe it's quite a difficult period for us. A lot of work in trying to first off get the precautionary measures that the government has put in place extended to the hospitality and tourism sector, and at the same time also trying to get the impact and how we can mitigate it. And so in one breath, whilst we're working with the industry in saying do the right things, don't be scared, just take care, the precautionary measures, wash your hand, make sure that sanitizers are in hotels, are in the public areas, the notices are available and all that. There's also that part of saying how much has this impacted your business and how do we all work together to remedy the situation. So I believe, I mean, we all know when it comes to tourism, if you look at the historical antecedents, Ebola 2014, tourism gets a dip. Globally, during the SARS outbreak somewhere in 2003, same thing happened. During the Iraqi war, same thing happened. So tourism is such a sensitive industry that the little scare, people decide, okay, let me stay put. And so that is what we're going to see. We started engaging all the various associations to try and get the full impact, present a case to our ministry, to the Ministry of Finance, and also see how some of the mitigating factors that can be put in place policy-wise by the ministry. But I think I also have hope, because this is an industry that has always rebounded. And so, yes, we'll go through this, but I believe that we'll rebound.
Okay, great. So let's talk about the Beyond the Return initiative. What was supposed to typically be happening around this time?
Thank you. I believe we started off quite well. You know, the president made the announcement somewhere in December. But Beyond the Return is a 10-year project. So this will be one of 10. And what we were tasked to do by the ministry was to engage various stakeholders, because it has about 7 pillars cutting across several other industries. So, for example, we have the Invest in Ghana pillar, which is spearheaded by GIPC, Bank of Ghana, and the Ministry of Finance. But we more or less are acting as a coordinating agency. And then you have things like the Pathway to Ghana, where we are looking at the whole visa processes, pathways to citizenship and all that. And that is also under the Ministry of Interior and the Ghana Immigration Service. So the stakeholder engagements took pretty much the whole month of January, February, how we can all work together to make sure that once we hit the ground, we are running. We were looking hopefully to have launched somewhere at the end of this month. I mean, but already we started seeing some huge traffic coming in. In March, for example, we had the Attorney General's Alliance here, and these are like the 6 top attorneys generals from the US, black attorneys generals coming here, and that was a huge statement. So we had Attorney General from Washington, from New York, from Nevada, from Chicago, from Minnesota. They all were here, and these were more like endorsements that we were going to ride on. We had Bozoma also here with the Endeavor Group, meeting with the creative arts sector on how we can turn this whole visits into business. So we were quite hopeful. I mean, we have started off well, and then this dip. I mean, obviously now we are in a semi-lockdown, so to speak. So we'll pick up the pieces. We'll go back to the drawing board. But like I indicated, we all know that our peak months always of travel is around summer, and then also in December, which has now become the December in GH with Afrochella, Afro Nation, and all that. So we're quite hopeful that we can get this over quite quickly, and start moving a bit more aggressively. We've also seen some hits for the domestic tourism.
I was just going to say that around this time, everybody's getting ready to do something in Kwewu.
Kwewu is now, it's gone. It's gone for this year. But I believe we will always look for other alternatives. For example, in the Kwewu area last year, we started something with the Kwewu Professionals initiative called the Kwewu Homecoming. And I think it's something that is going to happen this year in a bigger way, because definitely Easter is not happening. This was around the 21st of September, around our first president's birthday.
Okay, so we still have a bit of time to get that,
to put the pieces together, and see how a bit more aggressive this time in terms of marketing, a bit more aggressive in terms of trying to put a spotlight on destinations that need to be lifted up. So we believe that we'll get out of it.
Okay, but obviously there won't be paragliding, because this activity actually brings a lot of foreigners.
Yeah, the paragliding, I mean, we were hopeful because it's not so much of a mass activity, it's more one-on-one, but the issues were very simple. There will be contact between pilot and passenger.
And people also just gather to watch.
People gather, it's true. So definitely it's one of the easy pickings. We were hoping to have met with the Kwewu Traditional Council. We'll still have that meeting once the issue of public gatherings are gone, and then map out what's next. Because if you look at the hotels up on the mountain, this is a major season for them. Major season.
I hear there are new hotels.
New hotel, Rock City. So this is a huge hit, and we've started engagement. I mean, yesterday, for example, our Eastern Regional team went up there to talk to some of the hoteliers, the number of bookings that they had and how many cancellations. We've done the same with upmarket hotels, conferences being cancelled, events, where everything is more or less been cancelled. And
can we put a figure to how much we're losing?
Okay, so the figure bit is quite difficult, but we can put more like percentages.
Okay.
I mean, so for example, we are estimating that there will be about a 25% reduction, because clearly this probably will run for a quarter. And so a quarter will give us about 25%. We've been to some of the upmarket hotels, hotels that were averaging 70%, 65 to 70% occupancy, are now doing 20. I mean, and they've also experienced cancellations up to June. So pretty much we know April is gone, May is gone, and if we cannot pick up the pieces on time, then June might also be affected.
So that's like half the year gone.
Half the year gone, but mind you, already the first part, January, February, March, at least it wasn't bad. People did some business. So we are looking at a quarter gone, and this, I mean, globally, the expected job loss is about 50 million. And so in Ghana, we see, I mean, what most hotels have done and establishments have done is to ask staff to take leave. Paid leave, because the more they come to work, the riskier it becomes for them. And so that means that owners, stakeholders, shareholders will have to now pump up money to pay for people who are not working.
Is that also happening locally?
Oh yes, if you go to the upmarket hotels, that's what is happening, from 3 to 4, 5 star, because the bulk of those hotels, I mean, if you take, I mean, this is one thing that is really impacting all the various levels. Normally, when you have a global pandemic like this, it affects mostly the upmarket, because they depend more on international tourists, visitors coming in for big conferences, for events and all that. But this time, this will also go down to the floor, because if you look at guest houses, budget hotels, they are their uptake is normally from people going to, let's say, a tourist site. There's a budget hotel. There's a funeral somewhere. They go and then they stay in the hotel. But now you can't have the funerals. You can't have the weddings. You can't have anything done. So this one goes right through everything. Everything. Budget, guest house. Everybody is going to feel it. The airlines are telling us the load factors. I mean, this week, for example, there's been a surge in demand, surprisingly, because people want to go out.
I guess because of the deadlines with the restrictions,
yes,
people wanted to get home.
People want to get home, people want to move out, people want to, because there's a fear that if there's a lockdown, then I might be caught up somewhere. So there's been a surge for a week, but averagely, if you look at the cancellations, it's quite huge. They are also moving from load factors between the 60s, 70s to now 30s and 40s. And so we know stories of airlines like Virgin, BA, all asking for stimulus packages and all that to survive. South African Airways, we already know where the issues were in South African Airways before. And so all these are carriers who have a huge impact here locally, and we've engaged them. Yesterday we met with the airlines board, we've met with the tour operators of Ghana, I mean for some of the cruises that are coming in, and we worked very hard to start getting cruises coming to Ghana. There was a big one that was to land on the 31st of March in Takoradi, and you know, if you all of a sudden have 500 people, international visitors in the community in Takoradi, look at the impact. Problem. That look at the impact on the small businesses, shops, fashion designers, and all that.
But now we can't have that because that would be a huge problem.
Yeah, that's a huge problem. So this thing is quite a hit, but I believe we'll get out of it.
So because when I saw the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority's release that they had suspended cruise vessels, I was wondering how many of them do we actually get coming to Ghana?
We for some time we didn't seem to have, but last year, for example, I think we had about 13 or so coming, and the good thing is that they've now started putting Ghana on the cruise line map. And there's been effort that have been put in by both private sector and ourselves. There's a sea trade fair in Florida where most cruise liners meet, and we've had operators like Lantor, Sunseekers always go out there to make a very strong case that, look, we have the capacity. So we've been engaging the Ports and Harbours Authority. Last month, for example, we have a delegation from Barbados. They are very experienced in cruises, and they've engaged that, look, if you want to go big on cruises, because these are ships that will come sometimes 2,000, 3,000 people.
And they stay here for how many days?
Oh, sometimes they do. The thing is, most of them stay still on board, but they come out and they go back. So some they do 2 days, some do a week, some do a day. But they go out into the community, they spend, and then they go. And so if you put yourself on that map, but to do that, for example, you need to work on your infrastructure. We don't have cruise line terminals here. So what happens is that every time there's a cruise landing, we have to do a makeshift. Look for canopies, set up a market for them, bring in small businesses to shop. So things are happening, but we believe that...
so we've stalled, kind of?
We stalled. It's time for in some level of introspection. The visitors are not going to come. How do we take advantage of this and re-energize our industry? I believe there are opportunities for us to go big on digital in terms of revenue for the country. I mean, there are
digital tourism.
Oh yes.
How is that?
No, virtual tours. People want to. I mean, you have apps that can take you through Ghana in 1 day. You know, you pay, you go on there. So we're working with people who have seen it, told us that, look, this is the way to get out of some of these issues where people can still experience the destination. It's also time for us to now take a deeper look in our campaign that we are running, See Ghana, Eat Ghana, Wear Ghana, Feel Ghana, because even when we are out of this, the rebound will not be immediate. people's travel planning sometimes takes months. And so if let's assume that everything comes to normal end of April, you wouldn't start seeing a surge in May. It probably will take time. So the way to bridge it is domestic. How do we work with local operators? How do we promote destinations locally? How do we get people to move around? And how do we offer the sort of incentives or work with operators to create packages that will appeal to Ghanaians to travel around?
Okay, so one more thing with the Kwewu Easter celebration, with the paragliding and everything that happens in Kwewu around Easter. How much are we losing with regards Kwewu alone?
Oh, that's a difficult question to answer. But I know, for example, last year we did an impact study, Kwewu impact study, in terms of the numbers that come in. The reason why I say it's difficult to say is the study showed us that a lot of people go to Kwewu and they stay in homes. They have friends who
because we have a lot of rich people from Kwewu.
Yeah,
they've
so
got huge houses.
Yeah, so when you use only the hotels as your yardstick, it becomes difficult. You also realize that there's a lot of return visitations. But even if we take just the hotels, I think we're talking somewhere within the region of about 30 million. Yeah,
that's huge.
Yeah, that is huge. Yeah, and this is just for a short period. And so we think that something must happen, and that's why we have engaged. Today, for example, there's a hoteliers meeting at 4 of the upmarket hotels because they are hurting. They are hurting. And
are they doing total refund? Because you have to pay a certain percentage to secure the rooms that you've booked. So if I'm cancelling, and this is not just because I have decided to cancel, the event is not even happening.
I think for most of them, they are doing total refunds. Most of them, they are trying to engage with the people that, look, we can offer you, and I mean, just more like postpone if it's just a visit. The challenge, though, is with the group bookings, because the group bookings, you have to do the refunds, and chances are that it might not happen again. And so that is where the danger is. But things like certain conferences, events, meetings may come back if but this is also an opportunity for us to now see how we work together.
Okay, I've seen with your statement, for instance, that you've given a phone number and some details so people could call, because people also register with the authority, correct?
Yeah, we have licensed units, so they call sometimes. But this was more to do with because already we had about almost 100 paid passengers. So they have to get their money back. And we have said, look, call and get your money back.
How much of a problem is that going to be for the authority? Refunding?
Not a problem of the refunds, but a problem of generally not having the paragliding festival. I mean, we've put up so much in terms of infrastructure. This year we're going to even outdoor and some few new things at the site, make it more interesting and attractive. But hey, life goes on.
Yes.
We believe that the president has done well by asking us to be careful, not than be sorry. Because if you look at what is happening in Italy and other places, I think they thought, oh, we will ride this, and we don't want to be caught off guard. So rather safe than sorry. And so we will work at it.
Okay, great. So for those of us who have also locally done bookings for Easter, how does this directive affect us? Should we cancel?
Oh, we haven't said cancel hotels. People go, the hotels are not empty.
But we're going with families.
No, but if you stay in your house, you stay with your family. So it's the same thing. So if you want to make a booking, 3 or 4 of you go to a hotel, there's nothing wrong. But observe the engagement rules, precautionary rules. Sanitizer, wash your hands, avoid, they say, social distancing. If you do that, there's nothing wrong in a hotel room. I mean, but it's just the mass gatherings. If you're going to go to an event in a hotel room, then that's risky. But go have fun, go sit at the beach, reflect, see the nature
So we still can freely do that?
You can freely do
those
that.
Activities.
Those activities are not cancelled, but the public gatherings, the mass gatherings, and I think we this week after the meetings with the hotels, we are going to the resorts to see the numbers. I mean, for example, we know the challenge with a place like Labadi, La Beach, the Pleasure Beach.
The Pleasure Beach.
Yeah.
Okay, so not the hotel.
Not the hotel. No, the beach. If you have mass gathering, then we will have to find ways to put a stop to it, and by either or suspension. But I think these are engagements that we are ongoing, because the issue is you probably will not have 50 people working at the same time. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then all of a sudden there are 50 people there. It becomes a public gathering in itself. And so how do we deal with things like that? But it's more of an engagement. We are empathizing strongly with the operators. People have invested. People have, if you go to places like La Villa Boutique, Accra City, they are expanding their facilities. Last year was a very good year for all operators. So people saw that, okay, beyond the return is coming, let me put up more rooms, more conference facilities than this. So we empathize. We feel that we need the data to engage more with our ministry and also with the Ministry of Finance on what can be done. I mean, for example, after and even now, I mean, for example, with the airlines, I mean, they pay parking fees at the airport, certain fees and levies that they pay. Is this something? I mean, they have. Are
you spearheading that?
We are spearheading getting the data and knowing the impact. You know, because many a times, and we've told operators, people say, oh, we have been affected, and you ask them, how much have you been affected? And they can't tell you. And so we want the numbers. We want people to tell us. I mean, we've been to the app market. They've told us, the hoteliers have told us they are now doing between 20% versus, let's say, an average of 60%. So you can now make a strong case for that. How do we come in? How do we support? If you go to airlines where the load factors are dropping to below 40%. I mean, is there a way that something can be done to support? So we're putting all the data together after our meeting today with the hoteliers, and then we'll go make a presentation to our ministry that, which is in charge of policy, that this is what has happened, this is how it's affecting the industry. I mean, for example, the issue of providing sanitizers and in hotels and all that. We know that all of a sudden the cost of sanitizers have gone beyond what, and people are saying, look, we're already suffering. We already have people not coming in, and now I have to buy a gallon of sanitizer for almost 400 cedis, you know, and these are things that are real, it's happening. And so what do you do as the regulator? We engage, we assure, and then we go back to the drawing board working with the relevant authorities, and in this case for policy, our ministry, and also the Ministry of Finance. Okay, for possible intervention. Somehow. So I see that you've done a very good thing with the website Visit Ghana, and you've had some advisories and directions on coronavirus. So we're pulling it up. You're just going to run us through some of the things that you've put on the website. And I'm concerned around this time for local tourism, because we still can go to places. We still can go to places, except that it shouldn't be a lot of people. So what's the advice there? I think we're going back to, I mean, we've been engaging. For example, there are certain, the directives that came, there are some that have to be drilled down even further. If you take, for example, 2 days ago, the issue of the ban on that foreigners cannot come in, will not be admitted to, admitted. I mean, the issue was, what about the crew? You know, so all of a sudden, we had to go back to the Ministry of Aviation, working with the airlines, to the Ministry of Information, that there may be certain things that will impact if we go this way. So we are monitoring, and that's why we are engaging the operators. So, for example, so what happens to the crew? Because I know when they come, they check into any of our hotels. No, the crews mostly, for most of the airlines, they have long-term relationships with the hotels. So we know, for example, BA stays at Kempinski, this one stays at Movenpick. So it's set. So is it the crew that changes?
But they are not Ghanaians. Some of them are not Ghanaians.
They're not Ghanaian. So immediately we went back with the airlines and we engaged. The ministry went into, they have a system they call in the airline system. So it was changed so that the crew are allowed in.
Okay.
No, but then crew, we know most airlines check their crew and all that, and they also observe the precautionary measures. I think the issue is not to say people cannot, go anywhere. For now, we are not in a lockdown. All we are saying is that sanitize, wash your hand, avoid touching your face, avoid doing certain things. For example, if you go to hotels, for food handlers, although I've noticed that if you are not, you don't have the symptoms, you don't have to wear a mask. I mean, in our case, for example, for the food, those who are serving food, we have masks that we've asked that they get, because those are things that they are serving, they will engage. I mean, if, for example, unintentionally somebody sneezes, then it becomes an issue all of a sudden because there's food in front of the person. So here's a general directive of non-wearing of masks, but for us, we've said that for the frontline staff, people who are serving, waiters and all that, let's observe some of these things, gloves, if possible. So
we'll see that in all the hotels.
Yes, we will.
Eateries.
We will, but it's also not something that's it's going to happen overnight, because we've set out the directives. We are going around monitoring. I mean, there are some that are doing amazingly well. I mean, if you go to places like Asmera, Buka, and all those things, you go there, they sanitize you, they get you to wash your hand, so you go there and you feel confident. So we said, oh, okay, should we tell people not to go to a place like that? Why not? But we will go around. Our inspectors are on the field in the regions, engaging. Hoteliers are telling us where their challenges are, where they probably, people, the sanitizers and all those things are, in some regions you can't get some to buy. And so we are seeing, is it a case there we can work with the health service to get it in bulk and supply? So all these things are going to play out. And it also depends on how long this is going to last, which is what nobody can tell. And that makes it a bit scary.
True. Let's go back to your hotel guidelines. And I wonder, because I think, can we just go up to those directives before the food and beverage handlers? Let's just go one step. So he said, screen guests and staff with appropriate medical devices. What should the expectations be if I walk into a hotel? Okay, so this is a general administrative directive. We know that not all of them have the medical devices, but some do. I mean, if you go to walk into any of the 5-star, you should expect that they will do that. Okay. I mean, so you're checking your temperature. You're checking your temperature. That's as far as they can go for now. But then some are also reporting. I mean, yesterday we had a case of a hotelier calling us that they have some guests who flew in and been a bit sick, exhibiting some of the signs. And so immediately we call health service, got them in touch with the hotel. They went there to check. So that is the kind of collaboration that we want, expect, and feel that can help. And so when we say observe and screen, it's more like sometimes people may have come in and they can ask, I mean, in filling the form, have you traveled anywhere lately, in a polite way. So we can now start seeing the trends, and then once they report back, we also report to the authorities. Just finally on this, the president's directive on the nightclubs, people I didn't see that coming. So what's the way forward? Has there been an appeal? I heard some people wrote, some people have been talking. You have heard. So what's the way forward? I think you see, principles are not divisible. People took the thing out of context. I mean, for example, what is a nightclub? If you go to a hotel, they may have a restaurant, they designate this as a nightclub. But then in the same statement, the president said gatherings of 25 or more should be cancelled. And so if there's a nightclub where a hotel has a nightclub and there are 5 guests in the hotel and they want to go to the nightclub,
we don't use the word nightclub, then we can say no tourism establishment should be open. So he said nightclubs, restaurants, bars, and all those things. You could have a bar where there are 100 people. But I think the issue of the president saying churches are closed down and people say, oh, church is closed down, nightclubs should go on. I mean, it's sometimes it's part of the game, but I believe he meant well. We've told the hotels that let's maintain the minimum numbers.
But there are other facilities that are not linked to hotels. They're simply clubs.
But if you're a club and you are having a guest of more than 25, it goes without saying that's a public gathering and you shouldn't have it.
So what do we have? Do we have like a task force that's going around and ensuring that
we have what we
breach?
call the Corona Alert Team.
Okay.
In our establishment, they are going around in Accra especially, but in the regions, our regional teams are going around.
Any culprits? Have we found any people who have breached it?
We found culprits who are breaching things like the lack of sanitizers, the lack of washing facilities for people, and we've gone strongly. We've told today we are also going to issue a new directive that, I mean, these are now becoming offenses in itself because the law has been passed that the directives are now legal documents. So when it was an administrative thing, we're more appealing. But now if it's legal, then we can use it to shut down facilities if they are not complying. So if, for example, people are walking in and there are no places for them to sanitize their hands, wash their hands, and all that, we will have the force of law on our side to do what we need to do. But we're also appealing because we have so many inspectors. I mean, so you go to a hotel, once they see, sometimes they check your car, they say, oh, the tourism people are coming, everything is fine. You know, we will not be there 24/7. So we appeal that we are in this together. Let's observe, because if we get to the level of Italy or even the UK or US, God forbid, truly, we won't survive. We won't survive this because these are even more robust economies, robust systems,
stronger healthcare systems, at
and
least
all
we
that.
thought.
Yes, but this, I mean, this is also, I mean, something that is quite shocking. It shows how vulnerable and interconnected we are as a people, and how we need to be careful in all the things that we do, because economies like the US that have built missiles, billions of dollar missiles, cannot attack a virus as small as a coronavirus. Tells you that things happen, and we believe that we can ride it if we work together.
Okay, so finally, your task force members obviously can't be everywhere, and even when they go, because they can be identified, we can get people doing the right thing, like you said. So we can be your eyes too.
Yeah, you are.
If I find something, I go somewhere and I find, what do I do? Call you? Call who?
Yeah, we have the numbers on the site,
on
but
the
I
website,
think
okay.
but I think we have also asked that we all try and work to one source, which is the health service, especially when it comes to issues of people not being well and all that. But for our statements that we issued, there are numbers on there that people can call.
Okay.
And then we will pick up. I mean, if, for example, we got a call that there's a mass gathering. I mean, yesterday, for example, somebody called that there's a church happening in his area. So we said, okay, this is now a police case. Report to the police, because we don't regulate churches. But I think if somebody is holding a church service of 50, 100 people, or even a church service now, then you're going against the directives of the president, and you have to be watched.
Okay. So is it your office number? That's because that's what I've seen on the site. Should I put that one out? Because there's a 030 number.
No, you can call that as well, but I think the statement that we issued, we had a 024.
Okay, so we're just going to find that. We'll share that with you.
I don't have it all fair.
No, I know, because this was not part of it just came up. All right, so thank you very much for your time. I guess we'll be talking from time to time.
Most definitely, and thanks for the advocacy. I watch and I see that you're doing a fantastic job with letting people know. But please, let's not scare among. Let's make people be aware, but life goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. I am reassured, with the fact that you still can go on your
So
little
go
holiday
to,
with
so
your
don't,
family.
so don't cancel your don't cancel your Easter. Don't cancel. I know where
Okay.
you're going. I won't put it on because.
Thank you, sir.
Every
We still will go. We will just not form a crowd. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And we hope we hope that we brought some reassurances to you. We are where we are, but we have to stay together and then get through this together as a people. But what does 70 years mean to you? Old and past its prime? Is that what it means? For us at Graphic, it's a celebration of 7 decades of excellence, rich experiences with great achievement, and we've done it all together with you, our readers, advertisers, clients, agencies, partners, regulator, supplier, and the entire nation. Graphic Communications Group Limited is 70 years, and we are thankful to God and to you. So come celebrate with us truth and accuracy every day. Stay with us. We've got plenty more conversations coming up, but let's talk Arrive Alive. It's our own campaign on ensuring motorists stick to strict rules and regulations. Our focus today is on the luggage we pack into our vehicles, especially for those who travel long distances on commercial vehicles. Do you check what load is being put into the compartment? Our station managers even concerned about the kind of luggage loaded. Kojo Yang Singh posed these questions to some drivers and passengers at the New Plant station.